Hello everyone! I am Yuji Naka, the creator of Sonic the Hedgehog and Balan Wonder World. You are listening to 4 Males, Sonic and Tails, where our 4 beautiful men do nothing but read Sonic fan fiction every week. Will they stay strong, or will they lose their minds? You'll have to listen to find out. これはただの冗談で、私は中裕二さんではないですが。And remember, いつも早く進むように。And keep sweat dropping.
You are listening to 4 Males, Sonic and Tails. I'm Zach, and I like Sonic.
I'm Luke, and Sonic wants to eat my brains.
I'm Eric, and Sonic
And I'm Daniel, and I truly don't think there's anything I wouldn't do for Sonic.
Would you kill yourself for Sonic?
Without a question. Yeah.
Would you eat Rosie O'Donnell's asshole for Sonic?
In a heartbeat. If Sonic wished it, I would do it.
I will eat a 2 weeks deceased corpse's heart for Sonic.
I like that energy, Eric.
I can't imagine a scenario in which Sonic would want you to do that for him.
Maybe in The Night of 1,000 Fears, which is our next fan fiction.
I want to swallow Sonic characters whole and let them sit in my tummy.
Is that what Sonic would want?
I mean, in these fan fictions, he does want it.
Are there
quite
like
often.
Vor Inception stories where it's like one person eats somebody who ate another person who ate another person?
Or maybe like a Vor or a Boris, where you eat somebody and then they eat you from the inside out and you continue to eat each other?
Yeah. I like that. It's so weird, man. I'll never understand it.
Haven't you wanted to be the biggest nesting doll with other nesting dolls inside of you, Eric?
It's an unrealistic fetish, you know, like you can't vor other humans. You can be a cannibal and you can eat other humans, but you definitely can't swallow them whole unless it's like a really small fetus. And so the only way you could pull it off is if you were voring like small animals like squirrels
Or mice. Luke, we're looking
mice,
at you.
But yeah, Luke vores mice.
I do.
And that would be terrifying because they would probably like still be alive in your stomach and clawing.
Yeah, it'd be
their
like
way
that
out.
medieval torture method, except instead of putting them in a bucket up to your chest or stomach, they just force you to like swallow them whole.
Luke has selected this week's episode, or this week's fan fiction. Luke, would you like to introduce your fan fiction to everybody?
Yeah. So this one is by Solace Knight. It is called The Night of 1,000 Fears. And the description here, it's rated T, is it's a Halloween special. Sonic's trick-or-treating, Shadow's watching a horror film, and it's a nice night all around, right? Read and find out. Oh, Sonic, you're about to get burned. One shot for Halloween. Review and tell me how bad I tortured Sonic.
Okay, red flag right there. So we got ourselves a sadist.
Who would like to begin reading the fan fiction?
I'll start us off here. The Night of 1,000 Fears. Disclaimer. Shadow rules. Oh, and I don't own Sega or Sonic. But Shadow does indeed rule, so bow down to him before he kills you.
Oh my god.
Just a little note from our author there. The darkness fell upon the dark streets of the city like a thick blanket. Despite its attempts to snuff out the light, however, the night was actually brilliantly lit due to all the houses that had their lights on. This was the day of darkness. October the 31st, All Hallows Eve. Children were out playing in the streets, running from house to house to get their candy. Their costumes were creative and varied despite a few popular characters that had many fans. However, there was one costume that wasn't faked. A blue blur sped across the gravel-topped rows, running from house to house to grab the candy from each. Sonic the Hedgehog was trick-or-treating, as himself. This sure beats going in some lame-ass costume. Sonic laughed to himself as he rounded another corner.
He's a cool guy.
His large... Yeah, cool guy, flexing on the kiddos.
He's too cool for costumes.
His large sack of candy was full to bursting, and it slowed him down immeasurably. With great effort, he ran into the train station and sped off to the Mystic Ruins to offload his loot. That was the deal this year. Tails would give him the most efficient route and a map to use in exchange for splitting the candy up between them. Sonic had agreed mostly because there would still be more candy in the end than if he had just done it by himself. The train arrived at the ruins after a few minutes, so Sonic hopped off and raced towards the workshop. It almost seemed like an evil scientist's lair in the dark backdrop of the full moon. Reaching the door, he knocked twice and patted the door softly twice with an open palm. That was the signal for his specific arrival. Tails would only open his door if Sonic did that specific knock. "Hey Sonic, you got a huge catch," Tails exclaimed as he noticed the bulging sack.
Bulging
Phrasing,
sack.
man.
Yeah.
Bulging sack.
I have the brain of a child. I'm sorry.
I literally thought the same thing when I saw it.
I had the same reaction.
You can't write bulging sack and not conjure up a certain image.
It's true. Speedily, Sonic unloaded it all into the growing pile of candy already gathered. The night was no longer young, as the clock neared 11 o'clock. Tails was grinning like a maniac and had finally finished a giant sorting machine, it looked like. "So Tails, you finished that sorting machine, I see," Sonic noted after all the candy was offloaded. Tails nodded, satisfied with his work. "We'll be eating our favorite candy in no time. We should have enough of the other kinds to trade with Amy and the Chaotix," Tails noted to himself, studying the huge pile of candy already gathered. "But we probably have almost all of the candy you could possibly get in Metropolis." Tails continued, and Sonic got a devious grin on his face. This is the part he liked most of all. "Time for the switch up?" he asked as Tails began to grin as well. They both laughed maniacally as Tails changed his dark blue fur back to its normal shade. The Kitsune genius had darkened his fur to make it look more like a costume, and after reverting it back, he could start all over with every house he had already hit tonight. "Oh yeah, let's have some fun," Sonic exclaimed. Tails was still grinning as it occurred to Sonic what he had wanted to do. "Oh, almost forgot," he muttered, reaching into one of his fur pockets and retrieving several egg-shaped objects. Tossing them to his fox buddy, he explained his idea. "Here's some fun for Shadow. I know he probably isn't going out tonight, so we gotta trick him if no one will treat him." Sonic grinned once more, flashing his trademark thumbs up before dashing out the door. Tails was grinning too, finally able to have a little fun without much effort on his part. How wrong he was. And I will pass it to Zach.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Shadow was lying down on a black couch in Club Rouge. The Batgirl herself was all dressed up for the occasion, sporting a black dress and cape with her black gloves and whip to boot. Her fangs only heightened her bat-like features and completed the look. Shadow could not understand the concept of dressing up and running around begging for candy. It was absurd to him. Why should he embarrass himself to just get what he could without doing anything? Rouge had finished putting on her costume and was walking over towards him. Great, she's probably going to ask me to join her again. Why can't the woman just leave me alone? Shadow thought, knowing that the night would not be pleasant, but Rouge had to try and bring him into all of it. Why doesn't he want to, hang out with a big titty?
I don't know.
He's too cool, man. He's laying on the
He's
casting
edgy.
couch.
He's laying on the casting couch.
He's got that Sigma male grind set. But come on, Rouge has giant titties.
Yeah,
It's true.
She might be a bat, but she does have
he's
big
a hedgehog.
I mean, Shadow's a hedgehog, so what's the difference?
titties. Exactly. I don't know. Maybe he's not into the interspecies stuff.
Yeah, maybe not.
Is that okay? We established if that's okay for the interspecies Sonic characters to
I would assume so.
have relationships together.
I mean,
Like, it's not okay for like my dog to like start trying to mate with my cat.
it's true. I think it's different with the Sonic characters. I think that gets a pass.
Yeah.
I think they get to do the interspecies. They're all just weird anthropomorphic animals that don't really reflect anything about the actual animal that they're supposed to be.
Have you
like.
ever looked
about to... Sorry, go ahead.
Have you ever looked up what an echidna looks like in real life? It looks nothing like Knuckles.
Oh yeah, they're
Yeah,
ugly.
exactly.
They're cool, but they're ugly as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least they do have big hands,
It's true.
like Knuckles. With their fingers kind of creep me out a little
Yeah,
bit.
they need
Yeah, they're
they need
weird
some
looking.
Lego shoes like Knuckles though.
Did you guys know, fun fact, as I just Googled echidnas, an echidna's penis apparently has 4 heads.
I think I did know that actually. I gave a presentation.
There's a picture of it.
Does it look like 4 dicks?
Something's got to be wrong with your search engine, man. I mean, if that's coming up the immediate thing when you search echidnas, something's got to be wrong with your search engine.
Okay, let's get back to it. Shadow, I know you don't like Halloween, but would you do it for me? Rouge pleaded, but Shadow would not budge. The ultimate life form could not degrade himself just to satisfy some girl, just so Rouge could be happy. No, he wouldn't. Yeah, but those titties.
Well, I think,
though.
like Luke said, he's on the casting couch.
He's lying
Sorry,
down on a black
Rouge.
couch.
I just don't want to have fun. Shadow hated to see her upset, but he would be firm on the matter. Rouge merely sighed, resigning herself to a boring night of loneliness. Fine, be that way. There's candy near the door. Be sure to give it out to trick-or-treaters. The TV is plugged in over there if you want to watch something. Rouge then turned on the spot and walked calmly out the door without another word. Finally, he was alone. Moving over to where the TV was plugged in, he settled into a hard but uncomfortable chair and flicked on a horror film. The ultimate life form felt it fitting to be terrified on this night, even though he himself was not afraid of anything besides humiliation.
Badass.
Oh my god.
The channel surfing ended on a flick based on vampires, and he settled deeper into his seat. I wonder if he was watching like the in universe like film version of Sonic Vampires: Rise of the Dark One.
Probably. I'd like to assume that's what he was watching, at least.
Yeah, like it's all connected. It's an extended universe.
Yeah.
He was absorbed in his movie until he heard the bell ring. Grumbling, he stomped over to the door and picked up a cache of candy. 3 little boys dressed up as a devil, a grim reaper, and a skeleton were at the door, so he chucked a few candies at their bags and slammed the door faster than they could say trick or treat. Settling back into his movie, he watched another thrilling scene unfolded. "No, Dracula, I'll do anything. Don't bite me. Ah!" The woman on the screen shouted as Count Dracula bit her on the neck. She began the transformation into a vampire and started to hunt the night. Suddenly, another doorbell rang as he nearly vaporized the door with chaos
Christ,
spear.
man. Overreaction. Dial it back.
He's
a
got a
bit.
hot trigger finger.
He's gonna kill these kids.
He probably wants to secretly.
Shadow is like the person that would put razor blades in your candy as a kid.
Absolutely.
He is. And that would be badass.
It's because
according to
yeah,
this
he's
author.
dark and edgy. He's a cool guy. He's too cool for Halloween.
He had just gotten to the good part, and this child had to interrupt him. This time, it was a lone boy dressed up in a suit of armor. A few pieces of candy in the boy's face and a door slam later, and Shadow was back to his horror film. And I'm going to pass it off to Daniel.
Oh boy. No, Trish, what are you doing? Trish, what did... Ah! The man had just been bitten by the girl who had turned into a vampire previously. Shadow enjoyed the violence shown in the film, but he felt that there wasn't enough guns.
Oh my god.
Of course he did.
Oh my
Because he's a cool guy. He likes violence and guns.
Suddenly, the doorbell rang again, and he quickly chaos controlled his way to the front door. As he opened the door, the two-tailed fox immediately identified him and pelted several egg-shaped things at him before flying away. Drying himself off, he realized that there were paintball-filled canisters set to splatter on contact. A note on the ground said, "Happy Halloween, you old grouch. You can't get a treat, so it had to be a trick. Sonic." Shadow was enraged beyond the point of no return.
I mean, I'd be pissed.
Furious. He blasted himself clean through a chaos blast, then chaos controlled his way right up to the top of the flying two-tailed fox. Without knowing what was coming, the boy immediately plummeted to the gravel below, scraping his knees on the rough terrain. Shadow had flipped off the boy and held him up by his neck fur. "Sonic put you up to this, didn't he? Didn't he?" Shadow screamed at the boy. He was so terrified he could barely let out a squeak of affirmation. A plan hit the jet black hedgehog in that second. He knew immediately how to get the blue blur back for his impudence. "Well, Tails, you're about to see what happens when you piss me off. It was very unfortunate that you had to be involved, seeing as you hero worship that faker. Anything to say for yourself?" Tails immediately started begging him to let the boy go. However, saying how sorry he was and that he'd never do it again. Smiling sadistically, Shadow flicked the red Chaos Emerald into the air and caught it between his index and middle fingers of his right hand, which was not holding up Tails. "Relax, Fox Boy. You won't feel a thing. Chaos control!" Shadow shouted as he slammed his right open palm into Tails' forehead. The jet black hedgehog's fist let go of the fox's body as he was thrown several feet away to the gravel road. The hedgehog was glowing an eerie yellowish white, and he immediately started giving orders. "Breathe, Fox Boy. You are now my slave." Tails started to breathe, since he had stopped once the spell had taken hold of him. Another use of chaos control was to warp the minds of the victim, submitting them to the caster's will. Tails would now be his slave and do as he commanded.
This can't end well. I've seen enough hentai to know like a mind control plot
Oh, no.
when I see one, and I'm worried that this is heading in that direction.
If it doesn't, I imagine it will end in maybe bloodshed and guns, because that seems to be Shadow's thing.
This is now the second fan fiction that we've had Tails get mind controlled.
Yeah.
You remember Mind Bra Troll?
Oh yeah, goddamn,
So
good times.
yeah,
It's true.
Shadow's able to pull it off without a mind controlling bra. He is the ultimate
Yeah,
being.
it's true.
So I guess it makes sense.
All right, Fox Boy. You're going to get Sonic, and you will bring him to the middle of the park. You may not tell him what you are doing, who sent you, or why you need him to go there. All you need to do is bring him there. I'll release you if you do a good job. Shadow commanded harshly, forcing the tails on the ground to groan as his arms pushed his body up. The boy's limbs did Shadow's bidding, while he was free to speak so long as he did not go against his orders. "Damn you, Shadow the Hedgehog, damn you." Tails was able to mutter before his tail sent him flying towards Sonic. On the ground, Shadow was already gone. His plan required the help of several others, and he had to act accordingly. He would have his revenge.
Dun, dun,
I'm going to pass this off to Eric.
All right. Sonic sped around another corner, his sack having been filled with a few more candles from the last house. He had finished this block and was heading down to the next to begin the process again. The blue blur would run up to the house, ring the bell, take the candy and speed off before the person knew what had hit them. It was these kinds of smash and grab tactics that made the pile of candy sitting in Tails' workshop. Reaching another house, he quickly rang the doorbell, took the man's candy at the door, and ran off again. His bag was now half full again. Reaching the middle of the street, he stopped as he heard the familiar whirring of Tails above him. Looking up, sure enough, he saw Tails gliding down to him. "Tails, you're back! I bet you got Shadow good," Sonic laughed as Tails landed, laughing as well. Nothing seemed odd as Tails laughed like he used to, but there were signs. Tails' eyes pleaded for Sonic to run. His tails were jerking around awkwardly, and his speech was not right. But Sonic was slow after running at Mach speeds for so long. He missed the telltale signs that something was very, very wrong. "Yeah, I pelted him really good," Tails said weirdly, but Sonic missed it. "Hell yes! Nice work! Come on, let's hit the rest of these houses before you go back to the shop." Sonic was getting ready to dash again before Tails grabbed his arm lightly. Confused, he waited for the kitsune to explain. "Wait, Sonic, I want to show you something at the park. Let's trick or treat on the way there."
I'm calling it now. Shadow's gonna be waiting there with a rusty white van full of candy.
Or guns. Sonic did some calculations in his head, surprisingly. What? Sonic did some calculations in his head, surprisingly, and nodded.
Surprisingly.
What? Are they implying he's just like a dumbass or something? Like, that can't do.
Yeah, I guess.
Not smart enough to do calculations in his head.
This author hates Sonic. They said that Shadow is the best.
I bet you this author's some edgelord that's like Shadow is God. All other characters in Sonic.
I never was much of a Sonic kid, but like I played Shadow the Hedgehog as a kid.
I think
specifically because it had that E10 rating, and Shadow has a gun.
I
on the
think
cover.
I remember me and Luke liking Shadow a lot as kids too, thinking he was cool and stuff, and like he's like a rebel and everything.
Yeah, he's definitely like has always been like the early 2000s emo band.
Shadow is the original emo character. He's the one that actually started the entire emo movement. Emo wasn't born out of goth; it was born out of Shadow.
And you have Yuji Naka to thank for that.
Yes.
So Yuji Naka, in a way, started the emo trend.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Sonic has touched culture in ways you might not think at first.
Yeah. Especially by making teenagers be suicidal. That was Yuji Naka's plan all along. He actually hates teenagers.
Well, I mean,
Hey, if they're doing it for Sonic, then it's okay.
In a video game, in Minecraft. Yeah, we're not telling our audience to kill themselves for Sonic. Don't listen to Daniel.
if anybody was going to be a Jim Jones out of the four of us, it would be Daniel.
I don't see him as much of a Jim Jones. I see him as like a Marshall Applewhite.
Okay, yeah,
you
that's
know? The Heaven's Gate
that's
guy.
fair.
No idea who that is.
He kind of looks like Jeff Bezos.
Well, I mean, Jeff Bezos is his own cult leader, but we don't need to get into that.
for real.
There's another time and place for that discussion.
Jeff Bezos has gone beyond cult leader. He's just like an evil.
He's like a fucking
overlord now.
dictator now.
He's a super
Yeah.
villain.
He's like at almost Thanos levels of power.
More of like a Lex Luthor.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely he's like a Lex Luthor, but even f***ing richer than
Or
Lex
Dr.
Luthor.
Evil.
True. And even more bald.
Also true.
You know, he's kind of like a Dr. Robotnik.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He's an Eggman.
I mean, like, if we from now on,
That's his species.
yeah, he's a fellow Eggman.
yeah, he's an Eggman.
He's an Eggman. Yep. Yep. I could see Zuckerberg being
Oh,
an Eggman
yes.
as well.
It's true. Those are hair plugs.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's a rare example of an Eggman who is sporting some type of hair. It's still currently unknown as to whether the hair is real or not. Scientists are debating the subject. So moving on. All right, let's hit All right, let's hit these houses. Sonic pulled Tails along beside him as they hit every house along the street. He got double the candy because of Tails, and they were able to effectively eliminate the block from his list in not too much time. They rounded the next corner and raided this block as well. Then they hit the next one and the next one after that. Finally, after the 8th block of treating, they had a full sack of candy. His wristwatch read 11:55 p.m. The hour of power was rapidly approaching as Tails led him into the park. Yikes. The darkness covered the grass and trees. Near impossible to see very far in front of him. However, whether it was the darkness or the fact that Tails was almost pulling on his arm to get him to the center of the park, he felt that it was kind of scary here. This didn't sit right with him, and he wanted it to end as soon as possible. Finally, as his watch announced midnight, Tails pushed him into the center of the park, where a small circular terraced stage had been set up. Sonic was pushed onto the highest and smallest center ring, looking out a foot taller than Tails was high. And I am going to pass it back to Luke.
What's this all about, Tails? Sonic asked before a spotlight shone on a spot a little bit behind Tails on the paved road. Shadow the Hedgehog stood there in a black cape that made him look almost realistically like a vampire. The look suited him. Good job, slave. Now it is time to feast. Sonic realized with a pang of dread that this was no joke. Midnight had sounded the final hour of his tragic play, and death was calling out to him. Somewhere a fat lady was singing as Sonic came to terms with his mortality.
Oh my god.
He would not leave this place tonight. Good God almighty. It sounds like maybe Shadow has the reputation that Knuckles normally does in this, where like Sonic sees Shadow in a dark alley and he knows he's
yeah, for real.
Sonic was startled as several other spotlights shone in a ring around his terrace stage. And then he saw his friends all tied up. Amy, Tikal, Rouge, Knuckles, Big, Cream, and Tails were all arranged in a circle around him. Tails had been warped to the spotlight directly behind Sonic, while going clockwise around there stood Amy, Knuckles, Rouge, Shadow, who was not tied, Tikal, Cream, and Big. Thick corded ropes bound their hands together, but strangely their feet remained unbound. Sonic only had eyes for Shadow, however, who was sporting a wicked grin. The Blue Wonder could sense that he thirsted for blood, and he was about to get some. Now, let's start off with your friends. I'm sure you'll love to see that. Shadow laughed with insane pleasure as he sauntered over to where Rouge stood. She looked frightened, but didn't or couldn't back away as the psychotic jet black hedgehog approached. Now, Rouge. Don't you want to be closer to me? Don't be afraid, my dear. Just one moment of pain and we can be together forever. As Shadow said the last word, his head darted out to the Batgirl's exposed neck, and Sonic could see blood drip down her white skin. Rouge immediately went limp as Shadow bit into her, and Sonic could see that this was no longer some prank. Shadow was literally feasting on his friends, and Sonic could not move to help them. His feet were immobilized with fear for his own safety rather than his friends. The blue hedgehog had seen movies about these freaks, and he did not want to become one. But with chaos control, Sonic could not escape. Shadow, after finishing his meal, stepped back a pace from the converted Rouge. She curtsied, and Sonic could distinctly see 2 dark holes in her neck. "Master," she said in what seemed to be a vampiric voice to Sonic. Shadow smiled as he faced the Cobalt Hedgehog who quivered on his stage. Ah, the blood of the sinful, how delectable. But shall we taste the blood of the warrior next? Shadow asked rhetorically as he sauntered over to Knuckles.
No, Shadow, stop! Don't do it. Knuckles probably carries a lot of disease.
I was gonna
and
say.
he has AIDS or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say. The red echidna was trying desperately to break his rope bonds, but they held strong. Finally, after Shadow finished his slow and agonizing walk towards them, he broke free and began to charge. But Shadow had already begun his fatal bite. As blood ran down imperceptibly through his blood-red fur, the echidna's clenched fists relaxed, and he looked almost docile for a change. Shadow had tamed Knuckles, and Sonic knew that soon he would be on the dinner menu. He failed to gulp, his muscles not working properly in his terror. Shadow continued his march over to Amy, who was beginning to plead with Sonic for help. Sonic could not take his eyes off Shadow, but however hard he tried, he couldn't move his legs. Ah, the blood of the warrior shall be mud in comparison to the blood of love. I shall devour you next, my dear Amy. Amy tried, she really did, but in one sickening bite, Amy's resolve faded and Shadow gained a new servant. On the other points of the circle, his friends were quaking in fear but could not move. Knuckles and Rouge were all laughing as their master added another disciple to their ranks. Finished, he moved on to Tails. Ah, the sage blood. Shall we taste your intellect next? And taste he did as Tails fell to the sadistic hedgehog's bite as well. Sonic could not take the sight anymore and threw up to the side of him. As Shadow removed himself from the bite, he laughed. Come now, Sonic. This cannot be the cause of your sickness. Look at them. Do they not show happiness? They know the true joy that comes with servitude to their master. Shadow laughed, and Sonic was convinced that Shadow had gone completely mad. Shadow, what happened to you? Sonic screamed, unable to take the death of his friends any longer. If he could not move, at least he could talk. Ha! You set me off, you Cobalt Wonder. I shall relish the taste of your fear. Shadow growled with inhuman ferocity, moving on to Big the cat. Why is he saving Big for last?
Yeah,
It's a big meal.
I don't. Yeah,
Wouldn't you think that like Tails or Amy would be the finale, or even Knuckles? But like
Everything leading up to Big is the appetizer.
yeah.
Big is the entree.
Shadow growled with inhuman ferocity, moving on to Big the cat. He was staring dumbly at Shadow as he advanced. And now, as a direct contradiction, the blood of the dole. I had thought to place you here, Sonic. His disciples laughed audibly, and Shadow took the bite into Big's neck. It was over in a second, Big's dumb nature sharpening into a focused, intense servitude. Shadow seemed pleased as he walked over to Cream. No, don't do it, Sonic pleaded. Don't do this to Cream. Shadow merely laughed heartlessly and continued with his mantra. Ah, the blood of the innocent. Such naivete. It shall have to be quelled with obedience. Shadow took another large bite, and as the fangs sank into her flesh, Cream gasped only once before falling into her own trance. As the hedgehog removed himself, she curtsied appropriately. Shadow was beside himself with mirth as Sonic purged himself of yet another meal. Ah, and your last friend, Tikal, who carries the blood of the priestess. The last of my servants. Shadow paused, and Sonic could tell the obvious terror in the girl's eyes before she was bitten. She too gasped in pain before ultimately submitting to the dark hedgehog's will. Shadow's task done, he turned to his spot in the circle, his 7 disciples all staring at the final prize. Sonic stood at the center of a ring of death, all of his friends having been corrupted by Shadow the vampire. The aforementioned black hedgehog merely chuckled spitefully, looking upon his last victim. Shadow, don't do this. Please, I'm sorry, Sonic pleaded as Shadow took the first step up his terraced stage. Ah, the blood of the hero. He who hath lost all of his friends this night. Shall you join them? Shadow asked as he took another step up the terrace. One more and he would be in biting range of the Cobalt Hedgehog. Immediately, Sonic cowered and pleaded for his safety more. Shadow, please, I beg of you, stop. Finally, Shadow took the last step and grinned wickedly. Sonic could tell that he was up to something. Fine, on one condition. Sonic stopped begging and looked up hopefully at the dark vampire. His wicked grin had turned into a vicious smile. You must wear this dress and bow down to me in worship. Sonic nearly choked, but complied reluctantly.
Yeah.
He slipped on the pink tutu and stockings and lowered himself to his knees. He bowed continuously to the vampiric lord, saying over and over how Shadow was the best and he was inferior. After a few seconds, several flashes of light and shutter clicks were heard all around the circle. Stunned, he saw that 6 of his friends all had their cameras pointing at him, snapping picture after picture of him in that position. The only one who was not snapping picture was Tails, who had collapsed for some reason. Shadow, who had been enjoying being worshipped, was now laughing with great mirth. Sonic couldn't understand.
Dude, this has got that like Sam Pepper kidnapping my best friend. As
Oh,
a prank
dude,
energy.
it does.
For real.
It does.
It's just a prank, bro.
It's like, Jesus Christ. So like, what an insane overreaction to Sonic playing a little prank on Shadow. Shadow's like, I'm gonna murder your friends in front of you. It's just a prank, bro.
That sounds like the kind of energy Shadow gives off, to be honest.
What's going on? Sonic stuttered as Shadow finally stopped laughing. Heh, I tricked you, faker. Now that you've been scared out of your wits and photographed bowing down to me with a dress on. Shadow snatched his overlarge sack of candy from his hands. I'm going to steal your candy. Sayonara, Sonic the Hedgehog. Immediately, Sonic was smacked in the face with the blunt edge of a chaos spear. Losing consciousness right next to Tails, he could barely see out of the corners of his fading eyesight, watching as his friends run away, laughing their asses off. They went on back to finish trick-or-treating. Shadow had Chaos controlled out of there, leaving him and Tails to spend their night on the cold ground. The next morning, Sonic and Tails awoke to find themselves in the middle of the park. Sonic immediately ripped off the dress he was wearing, while Tails was groveling on the ground at his feet. Sonic, I'm so sorry. He mind-controlled me. I couldn't stop him. I'm sorry, Tails pleaded, and Sonic immediately felt a surge of anger for the jet black hedgehog. It's not your fault, Tails. Damn that Shadow. Wait, oh no. Come on, we've got to get back to the workshop, Sonic shouted, realizing what Shadow had gone to do. Upon reaching Tails' workshop, they opened the door to find a horror scene. The only candy left was licorice and Milky Ways. The note left on the ground said, Happy Halloween, faker. And a note from the author to close us out. Happy Halloween, guys. I personally do not like Milky Ways, so I apologize if they're your favorite. Raise your hand in a review if you liked Shadow's Revenge.
Milky Ways are my favorite.
Just be happy that you guys can eat candy on Halloween because I have food allergies.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Oh,
Goddamn.
yeah. How was it like as a kid where you could only eat the razor blades?
It was sad. It was. It could be legitimately depressing.
So, I personally really enjoyed this story. It's
Yeah, that was great.
short and sweet, to the point. It's actually finished, which seems to be a rarity when it comes to these Sonic fan fictions.
I'm gonna go 9 out of 10 just because I would have to save 10 out of 10 for like the best of the best. I have to say I actually think like the scene where Shadow was killing everybody was pretty well written.
I'm gonna give it 9 out of 10 sweat drops, just because. Yeah, it was good. It was short. It didn't overstay its welcome. It had vampire blood sucking, which is all I kind of really wanted. It had Sonic wearing a dress. Kind of a throwback to, was it
Tails' Wish.
Yep.
Yeah, so, but there wasn't any farting. There wasn't any gore. There wasn't any even sexual innuendo.
And now that you mention that, I think I am gonna give this one 10 out of 10.
This is the kind of stuff that I was looking for and just literally couldn't find anywhere. Anywhere. Very good job. Very good pick, Luke. I would give this a 9.5 out of 10. This is amazing. Yeah. It's concise. It had some nice spooks, the Halloween vibe. It's well written most of the place.
Most of the place.
That's all the time we have this week. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. If you enjoyed it, leave a follow. Hit us up on our Twitter. If you want to reach out to us, we're at 4 Males S&T. We have a TikTok as well. Anything else, guys?
Have a nice day. Love yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At night so that Shadow doesn't come and suck your blood.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Shadow doesn't come on you.
God damn
That
Come
too.
suck you off.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, that too, I guess. I don't know which one would be worse. I think I'd rather have my blood sucked, honestly.
I think so.
All right, everybody, keep sweat dying. Keep spook
Yeah.
dropping.
Keep
Sweat
keep scooping.
Sweat drop.
Scoop.
Sweat drop.
So I drop.